You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome in. Doing Penn State Purdue post-game here. I was having some internet issues, so it took me longer to get on here, so sorry about that. But dude, you know what I think it might have been, Brett, is the virtual background. Oh, sorry, Jared, or
what?
Jared, I can hear you. Brett, we can't hear you. You're not muted, Brett.
Okay.
I think Purdue is messing with his audio.
I had it on mute for a second.
But yeah,
no,
I think it's a virtual background, dude.
I think it must too.
Work for you. It
the
works
minute you
for
took
me,
that off,
but...
you look so much clearer. You sound great.
Yeah, so I guess you'll just have to.
Yeah, so my background right now is obviously my background, and it's horrible. So sorry about that, everybody. But you know, like I was saying to Jared earlier, people were going after Jared for his audio and his picture, and I told them I'm just going to cancel my podcast because they're unhappy. So this is the last episode because Viper123 was mad. Just kidding.
But isn't it ironic? I mean, I think I finally figured mine out because I think I sound and look pretty good on this right now, right?
Oh, yeah. And even if it's not, Jared, like the audio needs to be good, but if your picture's not, like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Like you and I talked about this. I'm the only one that has like a professional setup. You guys are just tuning in, you know what I mean? So
right.
I'm not expecting you guys to have a professional podcast setup. You know, I mean, I think Brett's is pretty good, but
yeah, it's very good.
Once my computer gets fixed, my actual computer, it's going to be much better with my $300 microphone I have.
With your mic too. But yeah, it must have been the virtual background, man, because look at it. It's not doing it now.
Yeah, which is odd because it works for mine, so it's very odd.
Wow.
But
well, if that's what it was, thank God that it's fixed now.
No, yeah.
But yeah, guys, welcome in. We're joined by Jared and Brett once again. You know, we got Penn State post game. I mean, we did what we were supposed to do. You know, and I was on Thomas Frank Carr and Nate Bauer's show, the Blue White Illustrated, after the game directly, and we had guys commenting on there that comment on our show. Yeah. So for those of you guys that were commenting on Blue White Illustrated, I hope you guys are joining us too. Jim Himes was commenting. Lambda, I saw, commented. And Illicit commented on one of our videos this week. So yeah, you know, it's cool that you guys comment on our stuff too, because seeing your comments on their show, being that, you know, they're the big show for Penn State football, and they have like a studio and everything. Like, I'm just literally doing this from my bedroom. So, you know, so it's cool to see you guys commenting on there and commenting on our stuff. So thank you guys for commenting. And if you're tuning in at any time, you know, just comment on our stuff too. We appreciate it. I like that you guys listen to their stuff and our stuff to get two different opinions. You know, ours is just a little different in the sense that we're fans. Fans with a lot of knowledge that talk for fans. We don't talk with filters. So, yep. I mean, even, you know, so I didn't know this, but I guess Blue White Illustrated, they don't have an affiliation with Penn State. Because Thomas Frank Carr, he said that, I think last week, or Ohio State, he said, I can say whatever I want because we have no affiliation with Penn State. I didn't know that. I thought they did. But, you know, T. Frank, he's good. And like I said, I worked with him at the Spikes. Like, him and Jeff Brown both could be comedians, because they're so funny. And Jared knows
I know Jeff.
Jeff Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Jared, can you move your camera down a little bit? Yeah, good. Good. You're on your tablet, right?
Yes, sir.
And you use data? Is that what you do?
Yeah, so I finally figured this whole thing out. Like, I was constantly trying to use my internet, my home internet, and that just does not have a strong connection. And my phone somehow has the strongest connection, so I just hotspot to my tablet. And ever since I've done that, this is how the quality and the screen looks, and I think it looks great.
Oh yeah, much better.
Dude, that's so weird that virtual background was causing that issue. That is so weird, man.
That's odd, man.
What the heck?
Well, and also I have to make sure everything else is shut off pretty much on the internet. If my tablet, my computers, anything like that has to be shut off. This has to only be the only thing that's streaming right now, too.
You probably have like a low internet. Like, you don't have, like, I have like a gig.
I have 2 bars out of 5, yeah. Out of the 4G.
Well, you don't have 5G?
Where I am, I mean, it goes in and out. It says 5G and then 4G LTE, and it's just, it's not consistent. Yeah,
that's for everybody. Nobody's gonna have 5G all the time. There's not enough towers for that yet.
But Jared lives fairly close to me, and I have 5G pretty much all the time now. So that's weird, Jared. But it is what it is. But your picture looks good. Your audio is good. But yeah, the picture is never an issue. I mean, it's when I started this podcast. If you watch my first episode, I'm doing it from my MacBook with the MacBook camera. And the quality of the picture is horrible. So, by the way, one of the best videos I ever watched was about the end of The Sopranos and how Tony Soprano died and what happened, because he did. He died. People don't know that. People don't know that totally because no one really actually knows. But this guy breaks it down really good. The quality of the video, the picture was horrible. And he said, it's not the quality of it's not the quality of the picture, it's the quality of the content. So because in this video, I'll have to send it to you guys. It literally explains in detail what happened at the end of The Sopranos, and it makes total sense. But that was the only video I've ever seen. I emailed it to myself so I never lose it, because that's how good it was. Because I've never seen a breakdown like that before. And tons of people have tried to say what happened at the end. And even the actor in real life, what was his name? The guy
James
that played,
Gandolfini.
Well, the guy that played Bacala, they called him Bacala. What was his name? He married Tony's sister.
Dude, I totally missed on The Sopranos. Like, I actually started watching that. I started watching them. You talk about The Sopranos, dude. It's so funny. I just started watching this, like, actually a couple weeks ago. I was on my HBO Max account, and I was just flipping through, and one of the things that was recommended to me was The Sopranos, and I'm like, that came out when I was like 9 or 10 years old. So it was like Mom and Dad never let me watch that. So, and of course, I always heard the phenomenon that it was. Mom and Dad were hooked on it. Their friends liked it a lot. And 25, 30 years later, I'm like, I think I'll finally catch up on this. And the 4 or 5 episodes I'm into, I can understand the phenomenon that it was, because it was the post Martin Scorsese stuff. Like, it had that kind of feel to it, but it was more sophisticated, like in-depth, like analysis look into the minds of a mobster. Like, I was like, I get it. That's something that's never been done before. And I commend anyone who did that show, because the acting is, of course, HBO quality. So I was impressed.
Yeah, it was Steve Sciarippa played Bobby Bacalieri, and he said on Joe Rogan, because it was him and dude, why can't I remember freaking Christopher's name? The real name. It's the dude that played Chris Moltisanti. Gosh darn it. Hold on. But Brett, have you ever seen The Sopranos?
Never watched the whole thing. I've only seen like a couple episodes maybe. So yeah, I haven't.
It's Michael Imperioli plays Christopher Moltisanti, but they were both on Joe Rogan. This is like 2021, I think. They started talking Sopranos, and during the Big C, Sopranos was the biggest show on anything. Like everyone watched it again or watched it for the first time. It was the highest grossing watched show during the Big C. So, Steve Sharip has said on Joe Rogan that he thinks Tony lived and he's living a happy life in New Jersey. But either way, he was either going to the can or he was gonna die, because he was going to the can either way, because that one dude flipped on him. But I don't want to talk about The Sopranos too much, but I bring that up because that guy made a really good video, and he said, it's not about the quality of the picture, it's about the quality of the content. And hey, right now we all have a good connection, the content's good, and the picture's good too, so it works out. But yeah, so we win, Brett, Jared.
Yeah.
I kind of had it on the background. I've gotten Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I've been playing that, and pretty well addicted at this point. I actually bought it to play zombies on Nuketown, but they don't have it on there, which is pretty disappointing. They have Nuketown for multiplayer.
I can't stand how the new zombies, even on Modern Warfare 3, is you have to play it online. You can't just play it. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've seen in my entire life. So it turned me off from the whole game.
Well,
really.
I guess Black Ops 4, you can play Nuketown zombies on that.
It's just
upsetting. Yes. Yeah, so I guess if you got that, you can play Nuketown zombies. But PS5, PlayStation, man, they first of all, they're not open on the weekends. And it's crazy that, first of all, if you buy a game on PlayStation, if you download it, then you can't get a refund. So if you get a game and you don't like it, you can't get a refund on PlayStation. It's kind of a scam. But so yeah, but between that and NCAA and then GTA, they're coming out in 2026, I think.
2025, they say still, but we'll see.
But I guess you can be a cop on GTA also.
Really?
Yeah, you can go into like the cop mode and be a cop. Which you can imagine how that goes on GTA 6.
Well, anybody who snitched on somebody growing up can do the dynasty on that.
Yeah, you can pull people over and everything. But anyway, we get the win. And you can find us on Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Rumble, that's more of a free speech YouTube, pretty much. So definitely support us on there. You can tip us. You can support that channel right now if you want. Eventually I'm going to come up with like a membership site and everything. But yeah, you guys can go on there, support us on there. My subscribers have gone up on that too, but you can make money with that right away, unlike YouTube. So support us on there too, because Rumble is it's a good thing to be a part of. It's a good thing to be on. They are growing rapidly, and YouTube is YouTube. I think Brett, he knows what I'm talking about for sure.
Yeah.
Just in terms of YouTube, they certainly they censor sometimes. So, but yeah, guys. So Penn State wins 49-10. Pretty much did everything they had to do. Tyler Warren, today, like Travis Hunter, for example, today he went off, and you got the Heisman race, and Terrell Owens was there, and I think he struck the Heisman pose for good old Travis Hunter. And here's the thing, first of all, we got Jalen Monroe. Looks like we've got Curtis Rourke in the running from Indiana, Cam Ward from Miami, Ashton Genty from Boise, Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, Travis Hunter from Colorado. Now, I think what's going to happen is Travis Hunter, I think, is probably going to win because it's a popularity contest more than anything. Yeah. I mean, Manti Te'o was in the Heisman race in 2013 or whatever, and it's literally because he had a fake girlfriend on YouTube or on the internet. He shouldn't have been in the Heisman race, man. There was another guy, I forget his name, that should have been in the Heisman race that year, and he wasn't. But it's a popularity contest. I think Ashton Genty, what he's doing is unbelievably hard. Getting 100 yards a game, you know how hard that is? You know how good you have to be to do that? And then Tyler Warren. I mean, there's no way he's going to win the Heisman, man. First of all, he plays at Penn State. They don't get any respect. He's a tight end. He's an absolute freak, but I think the guy should at least be in the ceremony, for sure. He should
get an invite. I mean, it'd be disrespectful not to invite the guy. I mean, he's not going to win it, like you said, but like invite his ass.
Yeah. But Drew had 3 touchdowns. Tyler had a receiving touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown. 127 yards receiving, 63 yards rushing. That long run that he made was insane.
Chef's kiss.
He's so fast, man. And he had a pass. I don't know if it's like an assist, but he had a pass.
Every time he passes it to Katron drops it.
It doesn't count as a pass because it was behind the line of scrimmage, I guess. But I will say one thing that concerned me a little bit. Well, first of all, the drop ball that Brett and I talked about, like.
Yeah.
But
I was upset
on that wide open pass to Trey Wallace, dude. Like he's way wide open. And Drew's standing there, like, looking around, and he sees him wide open. He throws it. I'm like, was that a slow progression or what? Because he did not see him. I don't know if that was his last read, because college quarterbacks is what they do. It's all progressions.
You talking about the touchdown for Trey Wallace? The touchdown?
Yeah. I thought it was, like, such a slow reaction on it by his
What happened was Tyler Warren was going in his route, and the guy who was defending Harrison Wallace got caught up. He was like, is Warren going to get the ball? Because he always gets the ball. And that was enough time for Harrison to keep running. And then Drew saw him get completely open, and then he threw it. So it was a weird play. It took a while, but he had all time to throw because the line was good.
Yeah, and that's those CBS guys, they were like, he had all the time in the world.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it in the replay when they show, like, him coming off his guy, and, like, 2 steps in, that quarterback was like, God, he just like ran backwards, like tried to get back to him, and it was way too late. He was like 10 yards away from him.
Yeah.
By the way, we got a game tonight in Georgia. I'll tell you what.
Yep. Oh yeah. 17-17 at the half.
17-17. I said Tennessee. What's that?
Wisconsin's driving on Oregon. They could score. They're up 10-6.
Tennessee, who did they lose to?
Tennessee lost to Arkansas, a mediocre Arkansas team.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I said Tennessee at the end of the year. I said I think it's going to be Tennessee and someone else in the national title game, and I still stand by that. But if they beat Georgia tonight, first of all, if they beat Georgia tonight, Georgia is absolutely cooked. They're done. They are absolutely done.
Yeah.
Like their season, they're going to a bowl, and that's it. Like they're not going to the playoff. So I hope that happens because Kirby Smart is, he really made me mad this week. And I don't know if you saw that, Jared, our episode, but Kirby Smart called one of his players an idiot, and I think that's one of the most pathetic displays of professionalism by a coach ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you take that, and then you take it to Mike Gundy, who's like, I'm a man, I'm 40. You know, defending his player because people were writing about him in the paper. I mean, and I said, I don't think James Franklin is ever, love or hate him, is ever going to call his player an idiot to the media. Never. I don't think he would ever do that. Because he's a player's guy at the end of the day.
Yep.
If nothing else. But
I mean, look, you're talking about, like, what is the one thing that is a draw for Penn State outside of Beaver Stadium and the whiteout? I mean, think about this. When you're talking about recruits coming to the location, they're going to spend 4 years, maximum. But I'm saying 2, 3, 4 years of their college careers before they get to the NFL. So a guy like James Franklin has to play up State College, has to play up Center County, has to play up oh, guys, there is a reason for coming here that is not the Beaver Stadium, that is not the Whiteout. And I would chest both of you to tell me what that would be, because yes, it is a bunch of fast food joints, it is a bunch of gas stations, it's a bunch of car dealerships, it's a bunch of convenience stores.
Bars.
Like, I'm just saying, it's not the most like come hither to my area like invite. Like, it is tough. Like, I mean, when you talk about outside of like Ohio State, Oregon, USC, like places that have cities and like legitimate like entertainment and legitimate reasons to do things inside the college atmosphere. Like, yeah, downtown State College is such a cool scene. No one will ever disagree that going down to that place when you see all the bar scenes and all the other like hangouts, like, dude, it's really a cool little place when you like immerse yourself in it. But it's a tough sell, to be honest. And so like when I hear people say, well, Penn State will never ever have the appeal that in Ohio State. And again, I don't know what's in Ohio. I personally don't know what the appeal is outside of the fact that they just win. Like, that's their selling point. All we do is win, because that's what it is at the end of the day. They're always in the championship conversation, and Penn State's always the little brother that has to try to entice any kind of talent that comes in and tries to make themselves known, make themselves a name in the college football world. Now, don't get me wrong. Up until his senior year, I didn't know who Tyler Warren was. Like, I know he had some good stuff here and there. He was always available to be, something big, but he never shown that. His senior year, dude, it is like, man, if we just had one more year of this, if we had 2 solid years of Tyler Warren doing what he was doing this year, he would easily be invited to the big party or the big dance that is the Heisman Trophy candidacy. I mean, he would easily be a Heisman Trophy.
He looks better than the dude last year at Georgia.
Right. I mean, they call him the Swiss Army knife for a reason. The man runs, the man throws, the man blocks, the man defends, the man encourages. Like, he is just all over it in any facet of the game. Again, the only thing he doesn't do is kick. That's the only thing he has left to prove as a football player. He had that in his repertoire. What else would you use him for? I mean, he would be everything to anyone who wanted it. So I'm just so impressed with what I've seen from one guy just showing up in 1 year. I mean, listen, do you see this? I mean, I have 44 jersey. I have the dude's jersey now. Like, that's just how much of an impact he has made within this season. So I can't tell you how impressed I am with James Franklin, with him being able to recruit him. And then you see other guys coming over, like Julius Fleming. Wasn't he a guy that they had to snatch away from the transfer portal, and he came to us? Like, isn't that where did he go? Where was he originally?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Like I'm saying, somehow they were to poach him out of there. I mean, it's such a difficult thing to know between the transfer portal and recruiting in general to like what is going to be the thing that gets you where you want to be. And yeah, a team like Purdue, guys, like we know what they were. They were a 1-8, 0-6 team that, they're just trying to find an identity in general. Like they know there are players, they know they're a part of a football team, but that's the extent of their identity. So it's clear that you're looking at what the playoffs are going to bring. And again, Oregon's not doing great in Wisconsin right now. Again, no one is going to have a perfect season. Like, no one's ever going to go out there and always win, always have, like, even Ohio State had its issues once or twice this season. So it's really just a question of, does the coaching bring the best out in you? Do you know how to answer next week when you have the bad loss? And like I said, when we took on Washington in our whiteout after Ohio State, yeah, we could have made that game so much closer than what it was, but we responded. We took every opportunity to make sure that we knew that we had a good team. And Washington, it's a good team. It is a very, very good team, despite all the seniors they lost and all the guys they lost to the transfer portal. Like, Washington was a good team. So we responded. And then in this game at Purdue, we knew they were not going to do anything. We knew this. Like, they knew that these guys, we went into their place. They have no identity. Everything was going to be a good drive. Big plays from, Drew Aller. I was very happy to see he had these big 45, 50-yard touchdown passes. And, again, everyone was contributing like they should. It looked clean. I was just overall impressed with knowing that Penn State will have to go 11-1 and then let the committee do what it's going to do for the playoffs. And our seeding is what it's going to be. So whoever 11 or 12 is going to be, we have a home game, and then it goes from there.
Yeah, Brett, what do you think overall?
Yeah, I mean, overall, good start. Scored on the first drive again. That's good to see, regardless if it's Purdue or not. We did it against Washington last week. So to see the consistency of starting off fast again, or not even again, for the first time this season, last week and this week, is definitely a good step in the right direction. What threw, I think, the passing game off in the beginning of the game, where they were kind of just doing dump-offs to Warren and stuff. So typically, Purdue is a man coverage team. Like T. Frank was saying, they play like man coverage like most of the time. They played more zone tonight, so it threw off our game plan, I think, because we were calling plays for man beaters, in crossing routes and stuff. And since they dropped into zone, it took that away. So that's why you would see Drew, you can't see the whole footage. So he's standing there waiting for somebody, and it looks like he's gonna go long. A couple passes, I'm just chuck it, but we can't see what he's looking at. But you want him to just chuck it. But it's probably not there because Purdue, for what they are, had a good game plan to try to mess us up. Obviously, we just ran it down their throat, and we're more talented, so we found plays to make and we scored points. Yeah, I mean the drop pass by what's his name, dude?
Anthony Ivy.
Anthony Ivy, man, perfect dime from Bo. You can't drop that. That's why he's a backup, but you still want to see backups make plays.
Yeah, I was texting you, Brad. I was like,
yeah,
that's what separates us from being a great team. And you're like, well, he is a backup.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Wallace wouldn't have dropped that. Amari Evans, none of those guys would have dropped that pass. And then Tyseer Denmark, the true freshman, had some flashes. That punt return that Tyseer Denmark made was really good. He had a dime drop to him. I don't think he was ready for it, so I'm not going to blame him. He literally turned around. Bo was doing an anticipation throw. He was throwing it early. It was a smart play on him. And Tyseer turns around, hits him right in the face mask. Remember that one? I was like, that's a perfect ball placement. All you got to do is put your hands right there. You're not dropping that if you're ready for it. He's a true freshman. I'm telling you, he's talented. He's going to step up next year. This year, he's not fully ready, obviously, but he showed some flashes. Corey Smith, man, dude, listen, number 24, the freshman running back, he looked good last week.
Yes,
he looked solid tonight. He's only 180 pounds, 5'10". He needs to gain some weight, but his patience of being shifty, he's got something in him, man. I'm really excited about him. So there's some exciting young guys that we got to see. The only time Purdue scored a touchdown is because all of our third string guys were in, our true freshman cornerbacks. They made some good plays, but then they also didn't make some good plays, which they're true freshmen. That's going to happen. But they got experience. That's what matters. So I would have rather seen 49-3. We all would have. But if we're giving up a touchdown with our backups in, it is what it is. I'm not going to be super mad about it. And a couple 3 outs that we have to polish up on. I didn't like seeing that, but you can't score every drive. You just can't. It's really hard to do that. Look at Oregon struggling 13-6 against Wisconsin. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, Brett. I was saying about how we didn't score. We need to score more points, and Ohio State, they score how many points against? Who was it? Nebraska that they struggled against.
Oh yeah, they lost by they won by 3. They won by 3 points.
And then they we put up more points against Purdue than Ohio State did at home.
Yep.
Ohio State was at home.
Yeah.
Oregon
And
5-0. That was it.
yeah, and then Oregon's struggling.
Yep.
Tennessee's tied. I mean, it happens.
Yep.
But our offense is now today we looked good. I mean, we looked really good. I mean, we did everything that we were supposed to do, like we always do. We usually do that against teams that we're supposed to, but I just don't know, man, how this offense is going to fare against. Because here's what we're looking at. Knock on wood, barring something tragic, and we came out healthy too. Besides Jalen Harvey, have you heard what happened to him?
No, it looks like he hyperextended. You see that? So I don't think it's super long term. It didn't look good because he couldn't walk off the field, but
That was 44, right?
44. Yeah, he's got Chop's old number. He's going to be a good player for us. We don't need him right now, so
No.
it's not. But it's still, you don't want to see people get hurt. But I think he's going to be fine.
It's not Max Granville either, but I will say this. And Jared, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but you would know who I'm talking about. When I was a sophomore, it was one of my first practices in varsity football, and I was playing scout safety, and the running back was this big, bruising guy, and he hit hard, and anyway, he came through the line. I went up to tackle him. His helmet went right into my knee, and my knee totally hyperextended.
Yeah.
And the coach told me it looked bad, and I remember the coach. He actually works the chains at the games for the Big Ten, but he said suck it up, get up, and I did. I got up and I walked it off. And I say that because I think he'll be okay, Jalen Harvey. I mean, extended knees hurt, but man, that's happened to me, and it The only thing with that is when you hyperextend your knee, there's a possibility that you tore something or you tweaked something. Typically a hyperextension, I don't think it really results in much because your joints, especially when you're young and you're an athlete, your joints, your ligaments, they're very what's the word? Not ambidextrous. Very. What's the word? They're flexible. Like they're.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like.
I know what you're saying, but yeah.
Limber. I said ambidextrous. It's something like that. But that's an anatomy term. But
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fluid in the knee. That's why Alex Smith, like when he hurt his knee, he almost lost his leg because once you get infection in there, you can lose your leg. But there's a lot of liquid in there. It's like your body in general, especially when you're hydrated, it can take a lot of like impact. And like that's where like a lot of lower back pain comes from is dehydration. And when you're more hydrated, you're more you can, like, say you fall down and you're dehydrated, you could like tear a muscle, break a bone if you're dehydrated. If you're hydrated, you can like withstand that a little more. It gives you a little more cushion. So someone like Jalen Harvey, who's young, definitely hydrated, healthy, I think he'll be okay with something like that. This is totally random, but you guys remember Bam Margera? Bam Margera, he had his own show. He was a skateboarder. He's in Jackass. He was like,
Bam Margera.
Bam Margera. Yeah, he's from Westchester, PA. He had his own show.
Yep. Yeah.
Never saw Jackass.
He said at one point in his life he was drinking so much alcohol and doing so much drugs. They told him his hamstrings were like rubber bands because he was so dehydrated. Like his body was just it was like powder basically because he was so chronically dehydrated. But Jalen Harvey is not in that situation. Obviously, he's he's healthy young guy, so I think he'll be okay. He's definitely in a lot of pain. I don't think anything serious happened. He couldn't walk on it because it, like I said,
just happened.
I know how that feels. It hurts. But I think he'll be okay. But I could be wrong. He could have torn something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but generally, a hyperextended knee, that you're okay. Like it doesn't. I don't think it usually results in much. But besides that, man, it was a good game. We came out healthy, and going forward, we got 2 games we should win. So what we're looking at, unless something drastically changes, like if Oregon loses, for example, I hope to God they do. Let's say Oregon loses, or Tennessee beats Georgia, or Georgia beats Tennessee, or whatever. I mean, things are going to get shook up, man. I mean, we could be looking at Georgia coming here, because we're going to get a home playoff game no matter what. At this point, knock on wood, we went out. But we could be looking at Georgia. We could be looking at Notre Dame. We could be looking at Ole Miss. We could be looking at Tennessee. I mean, we could be looking at a lot of different teams here. We could be looking at Alabama. So, I just don't know. My greater point is, I don't know if this offense can do it against an elite team. And what I mean is pretty much any team outside of BYU and Boise State in the playoff. Now, what do you think, Brett?
I mean, I think old Andy Kotelnicki is going to learn from his mistakes, how he called the game against Ohio State. So that was a good test to have. Yeah, we didn't win it. We had chances to win it. But now he knows what he needs to do with the players that he has to win the big game. So
Dude,
it's not like...
This real quick, Brett. 300 yards passing, 234 yards rushing, 300 yards receiving.
Yeah, so, but this is the thing. I think with today's game plan, I was still a little upset, regardless of how many points we put up. Like, you need to get
300 yards.
Backups.
Yeah.
Backups gave up half of that, let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, we only gave up 190 yards to Washington. So, our defense is fine. What Kotelnicki, I think, needs to do, you need to scheme up plays for your receivers early. Short passes, it slants, it doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to go deep every play or want to get the deep ball, which it looks like we wanted today, but it wasn't working. So underneath, you got to get Harrison. Clifford wasn't targeted. Julian Fleming wasn't targeted. Amari Evans had 1 catch for 2 yards. Like, you need to get these guys involved. And at this point, this is the problem. I understand Tyler Warren's your best player. You're trying to get him the ball. I think they're trying to get him into the Heisman conversation, which is great. But at the same time, you need to get your receivers the ball. Like, you can't just game plan that and then think that it's going to be okay for your other players. Because for one, they're going to be uninterested. I mean, they're all selfless players and they just want to win. But they need to get their confidence up and get more balls. Mm-hmm. So what you did with Wallace last week, you need to do that with Wallace this week and all the other receivers. Get them involved. Like, Wallace had like the first 3 catches last week. I was like, okay, this is good. He's getting the ball early. Like, you need to do that. That takes the eye off Warren, and then Warren gets open. He'll get open anyways, but still, you game plan off that, and that's what we need to see next week against Minnesota. We did it against USC. We threw it to pretty much everybody on our team. Well, Tyler Warren had the bulk of it, but Harrison has some big catches. That's one thing you have to be able to do. You got a game plan for that. I know we're doing the option game, tosses, and it's working, but it's getting a little too much, at a certain point where Purdue knows we're pitching it. Like, whenever Bo was in, I'm like, it was 3rd and 2, he pitched it, lost a 2 or something. I'm like, it gets a little redundant, and, like, you need to switch it up at a certain point. You can get away with that against Purdue, but once we get to the playoff, you need to get more creative, being less creative. Like, just do some basic plays, slants and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, they get a little too, you know what I'm talking about. They get a little too crazy sometimes with trick plays and stuff like that. So when they work, it's great, but when they don't, it's a bad call, right? So, I mean, it's just you got to find a happy median. So, yeah, I don't know. Tyler Warren's a freak of nature. The dude's insane. The rest of the team needs to be targeted more. That's all I got.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, they definitely seem to be not throwing the ball to them. And,
yeah. I
mean, receiving-wise, a lot of guys got the ball today, which is fantastic. Katron had a TD.
Yeah.
Didn't he? No, I thought he did.
Yeah, he did. Passing. It was a passing TD. It was a receiving TD. Yeah.
Right. Katron had a touchdown. Singleton had one. Bo. Yeah.
Yep.
Bo had one. Tyler had one. Trey had one. Luke had one. Luke Reynolds. That was
great.
Incredible run.
Yeah. He was so hype. He was like, yeah.
Yeah, and
yep.
Hey man,
I would be too.
For him and Ty Howell being the coach, I'm really happy for him that he did that, and he's one of how many stacked tight ends that we have in our tight end room right now. And it's really good to see that.
Yeah.
Brett, can you name off the top of your head all the tight ends that we have right now?
Yeah, so we got so the one that got in the game today, which we haven't really seen, Jerry Cross was in the game. I think he was doing some blocking. Jerry Cross, 88, Khalil Dinkins, or Andrew Wappaway, however you pronounce his last name.
5-star guy.
He's supposed to be a stud for us this year, and he got hurt early. That's why you're seeing Luke Reynolds playing. And then you got it's complete stack for years to come.
We have someone else coming in.
Well, we're still pushing for Andrew Olish. He committed to Michigan, and he's a PA guy. So, what the heck's going on with his head? But the fun part about him, or funny part, he's taking visits all over the place still while committed to Michigan. He just came to the Ohio State game, or it might have been the whiteout game. So we could still get Andrew Olish, but we got Matthew Henderson out of Virginia. He's like a top 15 tight end or something, but he might be a little underrated. But yeah, he's a top 10, top 15 tight end. Regardless of what he's ranked, Ty Howe and the boys are going to get him ready to go. So, yeah, we got Matt Henderson coming in next year. We got some big targets for 2026 right now. We just got to catch on them. So, we'll see. But, yeah, I'm not worried about – we're going to get elite tight ends every year. It's going to happen. So,
yeah, we easily have probably the best recruiting for tight ends in the country, easily. I mean –
yeah, 100%.
It's not even close. But
no.
Brock Bowers from last year, I mean, Tyler Warren is like leaps and bounds for outperforming him. And Brock Bowers, he kind of had a down year a little bit last year. He's a freak. I'm not taking anything away from him, but for him, like he kind of had like overall kind of a down year. But Tyler Warren, I mean, Travis Hunter, I get it. Like obviously, I get it. He is unbelievable.
Oh no.
Now, between him and Ashton Genty, who should win? I think Ashton should, but Tyler Warren, the guy's passing, running, long runs like today, and he's catching the ball, he's snapping the ball. I mean, he has to be a first-round pick next year. He has to be. I mean, now Kyle Pitts, he kind of did tight ends dirty by being drafted 4th and then not performing well because he was a freak too.
He's just a big receiver. Yeah, he's just an insanely big receiver. Yeah. He's not a tight end. Yeah.
But, Brock Bowers went 10th last year. I think Tyler Warren could easily go in the top 20. He was projected to go to the Chiefs at 32, barring that they win the Super Bowl again, I guess. But, yeah, so, yeah, man, overall, and going off what Jared said about State College, I totally agree with you, Jared, and that's a good point. Really, what you're pitching is Penn State because Penn State is like its own little world. Downtown, like it's a party school. There's, a lot of pretty women, and I mean, it's it's a college town, man. Like it's a college town. So for a college kid, I think it works, but because you are in your own little universe, you are there's really no city around.
It's a bubble.
Like Columbus, Ann Arbor, places like that. Like, you can go to the city and stuff like that. It's a little dangerous, but not the cities, just going to the city in general. But, it's its own little world. Everything you need is pretty much within walking distance. And if you need to go to Walmart, you could take a bus or drive, whatever. But it's, State College is its own little world. So if you're pitching that, sure. Now, State College in general, it's the economy was never really that good. It's a left-leaning town, so the economy was never really that good. But I think what Franklin pitches is the education. What Joe did, the education, right. The fact that you're going to be a part of a historic winning program, the mecca of college football. I love it when I love saying that because that makes so many people mad. But
the Mecca.
It's the Mecca, man. Yep. There's no way. It's the Mecca of college football. It's not even
the brotherhood, the culture, all that's all invested in it. I mean, and then the setting guys to the NFL. We're great at that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't think it's the Mecca, then you've never been here. But but yeah, it's the college town atmosphere, man. It's your ability to get a great education, the largest living alumni in the world. you're playing for a program, an extremely historic program. You have a chance to go to the NFL no matter what, pretty much. Because what Franklin does, he seems to develop his players well. I'll say that. They just don't always produce on the field. And it's the coaching, it's all together. But, I mean, his resume at Penn State, dude, is like unbelievable. Dude, take his all-time team, Franklin's all-time team at Penn State. Take his all-time team, all right? And then take an all-time team from every other school from Franklin's tenure at Penn State. I mean, Penn State they're competing for a national title easily. Take his all-time team. He has so many guys in the NFL. It's crazy. But I think that's what they're pitching, Jared. Just, you're going to come here, you're in the middle of nowhere, but, but he also probably says, even though Gus Johnson said you don't get cell phone service here, we do get cell phone service. You don't need to use Morse code to call your parents. We get the newspaper at least twice a week, so you know what the news is. Everything is lit by candle. We don't have electricity. We don't have plumbing. So, you know who else said that? Colin Cowherd said, when the scandal was going on, he said, I've been out to State College once, and I was driving out, losing cell phone service. He was like, this is out here. And it's like, Colin, it's the middle of a state. I mean, what do you expect? Yeah. It's the middle of a state. Like, New York. New York is like, you drive to like certain parts of New Jersey. That's the middle of nowhere. Like, it's really not. It's the middle of nowhere because it's right in the center. But it's not like you're in like, an alternate universe or anything.
Yeah, I mean, punctuation is at an all-time high because of all the letters we have to write each other.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to look at it that way. We got some smart writers up in here, like.
Yeah. Dude, we don't have anything here, man. That was a joke when I was in school. Do you guys have electricity? Being from Central PA, but these guys are like from New York and New Jersey and stuff. But
I mean, it did take us an hour to get on here, so apparently the service part it rings true. We're being haunted by the ghost of
you guys know
I'm the short man. He calls games.
You guys know I'm recording from Central PA. But yeah, Gus Johnson, he's right, man. Like,
yeah.
Dude, isn't that such a dumb thing to say? You know why I love coming to Penn State games? Because there's no service here.
Well, I mean, right now we're kind of proving the point.
Gus, you're in a stadium, man.
Yeah, you're with 110,000 plus people using their phones at the same time.
What is he trying to say there?
Look what happened with Netflix last night. You could watch the fight, but you had to go in and out of it 6 times, and then when you did get it, it looked like a video game on Nintendo 64. If you were lucky,
it looked like Mike Tyson's. It looked like Mike Tyson's knockout game from 1984.
It was bad.
But,
by the way, I did want to kind of talk about that a little bit. First of all, they showed Mike Tyson's bare ass on camera, and that was really weird. Did you see that?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it on Facebook. They have a little picture.
And I thought, man, the internet is gonna run with that because it looks so weird, man. It looked like he's wearing chaps, dude, but he wasn't. It's his boxing suit. He just didn't have his shorts on, and they showed his bare on camera.
Do you remember WWE like professional wrestling stuff? Rikishi. That's what it looked like to me.
I don't think I know that, but and then the picture was terrible. It was lagging. It was a terrible fight.
Awful.
I mean,
awful. The whole thing was awful. All of it was terrible.
I wanted Mike Tyson so bad to just knock him out. I wanted that.
He didn't even try.
Nope.
It was a money grab. He didn't even try.
It was a money grab. I think that heart at heart, you knew that was what was going.
He wasn't even trying. He wasn't even punching him. Like he was just. Dancing around.
Here's the thing. The guy is 58. Okay.
Yeah, he's old.
He's fighting a 27-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said it the other day. It'd be like if one of us fought our father. Like, but he didn't look good, but he also stayed in there. But he didn't look good, man. Like he just looked like a shell of himself. He's 58.
No.
But he looked like a shell of himself in the sense that, like, he looked slow, like he wasn't really doing much. I'm like, and if you're Jake Paul, okay, are you really going to, I wouldn't even want to say that I beat Mike Tyson because of the way he looked.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do respect how Jake, like, he bowed out, like, he could have went way more, he could have teed off on, basically, and he didn't. He respected him, and I don't like the Pauls, really. I'm not Paul fans, but I do respect how he respected him and didn't just, like, knock him out, because he probably could have knocked him out. He kind of just fell back. And
the one video I was just watching, it was Black and White Sports. It's a show on YouTube, and they were saying how they thought it was fixed because he bows at the end with 10 seconds left.
Yep.
And he said, why did Mike Tyson knock him the F out right there? He had his head down. That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I agree with that guy. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So, and people were not people at that fight were not happy. Like, they were booing. It was boring, man. Like, there was so much lead up to it. That women's fight was 20 times better than that Mike Tyson fight. That women's fight was unreal.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I mean, holy crap. Like, that girl had her eye gashed open. I mean, there was blood everywhere. They were headbutting each other. I mean, it looked like the reenactment of $1 Million Baby on Scary Movie. When it's actually Mike Tyson as the girl on a Scary Movie. But
for me personally, and again, you know me and my love of movies. Like, one of my favorite movies of all time, it's in my top 10. It's called Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe and Paul Giamatti. I think that is one of just the most beautifully crafted boxing. Like, the way the choreography is done in that movie, dude, is like something to behold. Like, how they said they did it was, I think they said they put a tire swing like in the middle of the ring, and they had the camera somehow like attached to it. And when you move it around, it's like when you watch the punching, it actually looked like he was legit like hitting the other guy, because that's how close the arms got up, but they were just punching like the tire swing or something. And it was like just so well done. And I mean, and you're talking about that era of boxing, like when boxing actually was boxing, the 20s and the 30s. It's like, you just don't like see how people, like, when you watch again, like, Muhammad Ali. I've seen Ali. I think that is, again, another great boxing movie. I mean, and then you see like the stories of Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, George Foreman. Like, that was like the era, that was the last true era to me, that like when people talk about boxing, everyone brings those names up. And yeah, that's 70s and 80s, a little bit of the 90s. And I mean, I watched The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. Oh, Mickey. It's Mickey and Dickie. I mean, he fought Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, like, that was like, again, one of those last few years of people talking like great boxing matchups. And it's today, I mean, I have not heard really anything from the world of boxing in like the last 20, 25 years, truly. I mean, I keep seeing Manny Pacquiao. Like, I remember hearing that name once in a while, and they would talk about the matchups on ESPN here and there. But again, it was never like brought up. It wasn't like people were going to it. But this, you're talking 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Everyone and their brother was like, yeah, uncles and grandfathers, like, yeah, that guy. I remember watching that dude. It was a draw.
Old,
I mean, I'm just saying, it was such a draw for them to be like, yeah, we're going to get like 150 million plus like people watching this one event. And again, it was just basically them just throwing that around. Like, they were in the ring. That was like, they were dancing almost. It was just like,
it's so old for a physical sport. Like Vijay Singh, for example, the golfer, he plays in the Masters still. He's almost 60, if not 60. I mean, we don't know because we're all in our 30s, but you know how hard it would be to box someone at 58? I mean, his joints are cooked. His legs are cooked. His legs look bad.
Bad.
His shoulders are probably not very good. His neck is really thick, because that's what boxers do. But He like the fact that he got in there and he did that is, I think, what Mike Tyson did last night was just solidify how freaking phenomenal he is as a boxer.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy went toe to toe with a 27-year-old. And Brett, you said that Jake could have knocked him out. I don't think. I think Jake was 100% trying to.
Well, I don't think he could have knocked him out. I think he could have teed off on him more. I mean, there were times where, you could tell he was just kind of like playing with it, and yeah, he had some good punches on Mike, but
strategy-wise, he didn't have to.
No, he didn't.
Strategy-wise, he didn't have to, and I don't think he's trying to embarrass the guy or anything.
No, and Mike's not a sore loser either. Not at all.
And the fact that Mike Tyson's, first of all, Mike Tyson is. He's Mike Tyson. I mean, he's a great boxer. He solidified it even more last night. And then on top of that, at the end, he's like, "Do you think Jake's a real fighter?" He said, "Absolutely." And it's like, now there could have been some like conspiracies behind the fact that Jake is like the future and Mike is just talking him up. But I think honestly, he fought him toe to toe. He said he's a real boxer. And if Mike Tyson says that, it's like if you play golf against Tiger Woods and Tiger's like, is he going to be a great player? He's like, yeah. Tiger Woods just said that, so yes, he will be. I mean, it's like Tom Brady. Like if Tom Brady said so-and-so is going to be this great, this and that.
Yep.
I mean, it's the same thing. So
same thing with Rob Gronkowski talking about Tyler Warren on that special. Did you see that, Jared?
It's the smartest thing he ever said.
Yeah, Penn State football. Penn State, 100%. Penn State football posted on Instagram on their page. It was a video of Gronk talking up Tyler Warren. He was like, "This dude's legit." Yeah, we'll have to.
Wow.
We'll do it on Instagram, do you? I don't know how to send it to you if you don't. It might be on Facebook.
I'm saying this with all due respect, and I really hope that Rob Gronkowski. I don't know, like how. I'm just saying. I just hope that this is true. Where it's like sometimes people give you a persona, like a version of the person, and when the cameras are off, you're completely different. I really hope that is the case with Rob Gronkowski, because there are times where I just wonder, how do you get all these commercials? How are you allowed to just be this way all the time? I mean, I'm just saying, like, is there an act? Like, please.
That's
just
what I was saying the other night.
He was
I don't know why people like him.
He was at the fight last night. He stood up. He was sitting next to Shaq. Shaq was like, "Yep, me and Gronk were just talking. We're gonna have NBA versus NFL players boxing. We're gonna put it together."
Hey,
yeah, Gronk.
Listen,
he's like Gronk. He's like Gronk. Stand up next to me. He stands up, and Gronk's like, "Yeah."
Hey?
He always looks like
one of the biggest draws now, again, I brought up professional wrestling. My friends and we were all big into that when it was like the real thing in the late 80s or late 90s, early 2000s. Like it was the last real leg that stuff was really entertaining. Listen, they did that stuff all the time. Mike Tyson was at WrestleMania 14 being the special referee to Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. Never going to forget that from my childhood. Seeing that dude show that he is still one of the best, like, athletes, and like he had a legit chops in terms of his acting skills. That's what I missed from that stuff. Like there was like legitimate actors in the world of wrestling, and now this stuff is kind of like Disney scripted. Like it's not good quality stuff. And that's kind of like what I get. It all comes down to, what do we think would be entertaining? What do we think would get a draw? And again, all you gotta do is mention Mike Tyson's name, and you're just like, please, like, because again, that's just in itself. Like when he appeared in The Hangover, like all people can talk about is that moment in the movie half the time. When I remember when it came out, everyone would talk about Mike Tyson's cameo with the tiger and everything, and it's still to this day one of the best little moments or cameos in a movie. So yeah, it's great that people like him know how to keep themselves relevant, even if it's not necessarily what we are hoping for. Because listen, Rocky Balboa, another great boxing movie. Like that movie from 2006, it has one of the greatest motivational speeches I've ever seen in a movie. I will stand by that. They glorified that right there for him. Because again, you're talking Sylvester Stallone, the same storyline. Dude's in his mid-50s, early 60s, and he wanted to get back in the boxing ring one more time to prove he could do something. And it was like choreographed amazing for Sylvester Stallone to have the ability to know his training still at that age and stay in shape and make it look as convincing as it was. Again, it's all for the movies, and it was a great story. I thought it was a great rebirth of the Rocky movies because they were going downhill as each one was coming out. But yeah, like it's one thing for you to put that in a movie and be like, yeah, they never give up. Like even at that age, like maybe something can happen for me, because it's just what it is all about. But then you watch like the real life thing, and we didn't really necessarily get what we were hoping for.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was good to watch. I thought Mike. Yeah, I wanted him to knock him out so bad, and I hope there wasn't any conspiracy there of people holding back, because I would have loved to see him knock him out just to shut him up. Storyline wise, that wouldn't have made sense, so I can kind of see like the somewhat of the conspiracy behind it. But Brett, you have anything else to say about Purdue? The thing we were talking about originally.
Purdue, good win. Got the young guys in there.
Played there, I guess. I didn't know that.
Did he?
He was the quarterback.
CBS they have the worst commentating I've ever. It's so bad. They're too old. Like, just get them out of there. Like, it's bad. It's very.
It's
bad.
like the retirement home of like commentating. It's like just.
You got to start fresh at this point.
Boring.
And the fact that they're just laughing about, like, oh, he might have been grabbing him. Oh, like, this is what me and Jared were talking about when we started. Abdul Carter was held on every play again. Not one of them was called. They called one on Amin Vanover, and it wasn't even. It was on Abdul Carter, actually, that play. So he had 0 because of this.
And then they showed Jenny Dell, and she looks out of place every time she's on there.
She's not in state college with me. I mean, that's why she's out of place. So I see what you're saying. I get it.
And then Gus Johnson, he's always like, the all-American girl, Jenny Taft. And then they show Jenny Taft, and she's like, I don't know. It's just Gus Johnson is annoying. But anyway, my dream, like I said this a million times, man. Let fans vote on who they want to hear call games. Kirk Herbstreit would never call a game. I don't think, because I don't think people like him. I don't like him, that's for sure. But
people like him. Yeah, I know you don't, but people like Kirk. I mean, he's
Gus Johnson. Dude, that special they did on the game day with his dog passing. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that was its own segment all together. Like. I think they wanted to have a service for the dog. Like it was like they really made a big gesture to that. I'm just saying.
Hey, as cute as Ben was, every time I saw him on set, I'm like, well, that's Kirk Herbstreit's dog, so I wouldn't like him as much as I would like someone else's dog. But, like Pat McAfee, and they got him on there now too, and good Lord. But ESPN, man, like they're just the best thing they ever did was, well, Pat McAfee, as annoying as he is, he was a good addition. But the best thing they ever did was get Nick Saban on there. Holy crap! Yeah, that was dying college game day, and I still don't really watch it because it's ESPN. But it's a classic show. Soon as Lee Corso's gone, that show is like, I don't think it's ever going to be the same.
It's dead in water, at that point. I mean.
But, we win 49-10, dominating fashion. We've got Minnesota next week. Then we got Maryland. And right now, really what I want to do is start talking more about what the playoff picture could look like, what we think we can do. Because, Jared, when you were off a little bit there earlier, I was saying how I don't know if this offense can perform against an elite team like we'll see in the playoff most likely. But if we can get past the first round, run into BYU, man, we could be in the top 4. Not to push BYU aside, but dude, I don't think they got a shot against us or anybody. I don't think they do. Maybe Boise State.
Anyone can be beaten, bud.
Yeah, true. But so that's what we're looking at going forward. Brett and I, we're gonna come up with a time to start covering some basketball. Yeah. I'm going to try and have some guests on for that. But that's kind of gonna be Brett's gonna have to kind of inform me and teach me a little bit about stuff with that because I have not followed them ever. I don't even really watch them, but I do want to support them, especially when we had Joe Crispin on here, the assistant head coach.
Yeah,
he's the man. I mean, he's like
great player.
He's great player, great guy. Just
3-point king, dude. 3-point king. Him and his brother, but he was way better. So yeah.
I mean, when he was on here talking about when Brett, I think you've seen that interview. I think, but man, like when he was on here, his mindset was unbelievable.
It was great.
Talk about Kobe Bryant. He played with Kobe Bryant and Shaq, and he said Jerry West was the reason that he played in the Lakers. And he's like, I guarded Michael Jordan. Dude, he guarded Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Listen, I was a huge. I mean, that was my era where Space Jam was the thing. Everyone knew the Chicago Bulls. Like, that was the era. And when everyone talks about, like, what was a great time for the NBA, I can say that I did follow the Bulls very much like as everybody did if they were a Michael Jordan fan, which I was. And listen, my dad, he was a huge Boston Celtics fan. He grew up with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson years. I mean, when NBA was still like one of the better technical, physical sports, like, the way they play, I mean, it was almost like hockey on a basketball court, how violent they would get with some of those passes. Like, and again, people talk about how soft everything gets as time goes on, and it just doesn't look like it used to, and everyone can't put LeBron James in the same category as Michael Jordan because, they played in such a different time period. And, I mean, Michael was a part of the last era that, they were that physical, they played dominant, and, you look at what he had accomplished with all the titles and MVPs. I mean, it was, the dude was the epitome of sports. Like, everyone knew who the guy was, no matter who you talk to. It was like Tiger Woods. It was like Babe Ruth. I mean, every one of these elite, iconic, like I'm on top of the mountain peak people. That's what you'd look at when you hear NBA. You think Michael Jordan to this day. So I think when you talk to people that have ever made contact with those types of people, then you are a part of something special. So, and listen, we were talking, me and Brett, before the show started about like how awesome the Penn State basketball team has looked. I mean, I follow them. Like, my folks and follow the Penn State basketball when they're good. I mean, it was 09 and 10, and just a couple years ago, I mean, they were in the NBA playoffs or the March Madness. It was it was fantastic, dude. I mean, you watch everything that they had put themselves through with the coaching and finally getting a good guy. They are getting good recruits now. I mean, I'm totally impressed with the basketball program right now. It's like the biggest turnaround. I mean, it's kind of like what Cal Sanderson did for the wrestling team. It's like, everyone knew Penn State had a wrestling program. Cal Sanderson shows up. We are like elite. We are the top of the mountaintop. Everyone compares us now in the wrestling world. So, it's definitely some of the more impressive things I've seen recently for Penn State. And I hope they have this continuous season because I just saw they won against Virginia Tech the other night, and they looked great. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's going to be a good time.
But man, that recruiting is going to continue, and I'm excited to talk about it and cover it and I'm going to go to games. I want to go to the games, and I know under Coach Rhodes and Coach Rhodes and Joe Crispin, man, they're going to be getting guys coming in. Trust me on that. Like, Penn State basketball may be legit. I just hope he stays.
Yeah.
If Coach Rhodes leaves, Joe Crispin's the next head coach, but I just hope they stay because Joe Crispin's there to be the head coach at some point. But I hope they stay because Coach Rhodes, he brought in all those guys last year, man. Like, all those transfers. I mean, he's the real deal. Like, he's going to be a good coach. And I do think that they can compete.
Lehigh Valley guy, PA guy. Gotta love it.
Yep. And I was saying this the other day, too, to someone. Going to BJC and watching a game, it's always fun. I mean, it's a fun place to watch games. It's loud. I always like the horn, the timeout. What's the sub horn?
Yeah.
Basketball always. It's so loud.
It's inexpensive, and that's why it's fun to go because it's not expensive. You go for like $25 or whatever, $30. It's not expensive.
You can get food. You can get alcohol now.
Real quick, this is getting bad. It's 13-13, Oregon, Wisconsin. There's 5 minutes left, and Oregon is at Wisconsin's 19. Come on.
I know. I saw they were deflating. Of course they were. They were going to have a debacle. Yes. I mean,
they still got a shot.
Yeah, but both offenses obviously haven't done anything if it's this low. So if Oregon does score, I think it's going to be hard for Wisconsin to come back and score. We'll see, but I mean they have. Look at, passing yards. They only have 90 passing yards, and then they have some rushing yards. But
so let me ask you guys a question. So Penn State is currently 4th. Now, give me your guys' list for the top 5 right now. Because personally, I think I would have to put right now at this moment Oregon at number 1, Ohio State number 2, Texas 3, us 4, 5. Who do you want to put in the 5th spot? Because again. Not Notre Dame.
Who did you just say at 5?
I was saying, I'm trying to think of the 5th best team. It's like, I'm kind of blanking.
Well, because they haven't lost, Indiana deserves to be there. I get it. Okay. But if they beat Ohio State, then they're flying up.
At the end of the day, like today, they were talking about it. They're like, no, look at these comparison. They're right next to each other. Indiana, 110th hardest schedule. Georgia number 1. It's like, okay, but they lost. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
They lost.
We're 32.
Everybody calm down. Indiana deserves to be up there, man. They beat some legit teams, so.
It's not that they're winning. It's that they're winning like by 20, 30, 40 points. Like, dude, that's something to be said about, like, regardless of who you're beating. It's like, your team itself actually looks very nicely coached. Like, everyone looks pretty good.
Tennessee will be 5. Now, if Oregon loses, man, like, that's... Ooh.
Georgia's up.
That's gonna throw a wrench in everything. But because if you're Oregon, who speaking of losing, if you lose tonight, Oregon, who do you put in the title game?
Yeah, if Oregon loses tonight, then they're not.
Ohio State has to probably be in that Big Ten championship. Then,
well, it'd be Ohio State, but
Ohio State has a head-to-head. We'd have. Indiana would have to.
It would probably end up being Indiana and Ohio State in the title game.
Indiana would have to lose twice for us to go in, man. I don't see that happening.
Me neither.
Anything could happen, but they'd have to lose twice for us to play Ohio State again.
Man, which would be crazy. That's going to be interesting.
That would be so amazing.
Man, I'm about ready to get off, but I just want to say this one last thing, and then we'll watch the end of this, and Tennessee and Georgia too. And sorry about my background. I got But anyway, I was listening to Justin King's podcast this past week, and they talked about after Washington, and I just want to preface it by saying this: I love Justin King. He's the man. He seems like a really good guy. He's a phenomenal player for Penn State. He has a good podcast. But one thing that he said this week really made me mad. And I don't think it was very smart of him to say. I don't think it was very advised of him to say. He said basically that they were talking about comparisons between Ohio State and Penn State and the amount of money that they have for NIL. And someone commented and said, Ohio State was number 1 in funding with $251 million in the Big Ten or something like that. Penn State was 9th. And in between that was like Michigan, Oregon, what have you. And he basically said, Justin King, he said, at some point as fans, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing enough? Meaning, you buy your ticket, you do this, you do that, but are you donating enough money? Okay, first of all, that's one of the most misinformed things I've ever heard in my life. I'm just going to say that. And it comes down to coaching, okay? I don't think we will ever win a meaningful game. We might get lucky in the playoff. I don't think we're ever going to win a meaningful game under James Franklin, especially against Ohio State. And what it comes down to is coaching, okay? We don't need more money, Justin King. Fans, at some point, if we keep losing like this, at some point us fans have to ask ourselves, when is enough enough? When are you going to stop breaking records at Beaver Stadium and say, I'm not going until they fire this guy because I'm tired of this year in, year out mediocrity. Okay? It's not money. It's the coaching. Indiana, okay? How much money do you think they have in NIL? I think there's high schools with more NIL money than Indiana, and they're undefeated. Why? Because of their coach. This guy was at IUP in Pennsylvania, like a D2 school, D3 school. Not D3, they're like D2 or D1A or whatever. But it comes down to coaching. It's not the money, Justin King. We don't need more money. You need to win. It's not the fans' fault that we don't win. Okay? We don't need to donate more money to win. You think Joe Paterno would have asked everyone to donate more money so we can win? He'd probably tell them to stop donating money. But it was just it made me mad because I was like yelling at my phone when I was listening to it, because what it comes down to is coaching. Now, do you think because of this good coach now, Indiana won't have more money? Of course they will. And if Signetti stays there, the money's going to come. So it's not a money. Yeah, it's not a money issue, Justin King. It's a coaching issue. It's a success issue. It's a winning issue. That's what it comes down to. It's not because we're not giving enough money. Okay? You don't win games because of how much money the team has. Sure, that gives you better players. But you know what? As much money as Ohio State has, they haven't beat Michigan in like 3-4 years. Okay? It's not money. It's the coaching. If you have a good coach, the money will come. The issue with Penn State is not money and the fans not donating enough money. It's the coaching and the lack of execution of the coaching. That's exactly what it is. So this whole money argument is just, oh my God, it's so stupid, dude. It's so dumb. Like, and the fact that our fans broke a record for Ohio State to lose again. Like I said, at some point as fans, we have to ask ourselves, when is enough enough? It comes down to James Franklin and the fact that he sucks in big games. That's it. It's not money.
Well, I think we can agree
that my rant.
I applaud that one. That was a good one. But I think what we can also say is that in the end, what you're looking at from the Big Ten itself, Indiana becoming all of a sudden like a driving force for change. It's like, yeah, that's pretty amazing to see that it just took one season of one guy showing up and being like, hey guys, we got a chance. Look at our schedule here. Look at our schedule. I mean, this isn't that bad. I mean, come on, guys. Think of yourselves as the best version of yourselves. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of on the lengths of what it was. And you look at how this was shown. I mean, they have not looked bad really at all this whole season. And regardless, again, who they played, they just never have made themselves look bad. They've never like gotten into the like, man, I don't know if we're good enough kind of thing. And it's like, I feel like there are times where I watch the Ohio State and Penn State where it's like, I know you know that you don't think you're good enough because it is always Ohio State coming out on top. And the noise that gets in, and I see it. It just, the plays don't look as crisp, and the execution never shows itself. Like, and again,
I'm just like being honest. Whoever we play in the playoff, if we run into a decent team, we're not going to win. So we run into Ole Miss, I don't think we win. Our team is never going to win games against legitimate teams as long as James Franklin is the head coach, because I don't like to say anybody sucks at anything. I don't like to say that, but on game days, as a head coach, he's not good. And we're never going to win that big game. He's won probably one truly meaningful game where we shouldn't have won in his career, and that was Ohio State in 2016, and we got lucky. Every team we've played, whether it's Washington in the Fiesta Bowl, or Utah in the Rose Bowl, or who else?
USC on the road.
I mean, we had a good shot at winning those games. Okay? In fact, we were probably favored. Utah was favored in the Rose Bowl, but if there's a game like Ohio State, Ole Miss, Tennessee, do you think we're going to win that game?
Well, Ole Miss last year doesn't even count. Let's be like, you can't even count that game. We didn't even have our defense playing.
Nope.
So
It's true.
Yeah,
I don't count
you don't have to count
No.
that game. No, that's fine.
And this
That's a
year
great
they
point
played
to
one
bring
good.
up.
They played one good game this year, and it was against Georgia. Georgia fell asleep. I don't know what happened, but you can't say Ole Miss is consistent this year. So I don't know. You can't really. I can't predict anything until we see it on the field. Yeah, until he wins big games, it's hard to predict that it will happen.
Dude,
But
he
you can say he probably won't. But I mean, I don't.
I have no confidence under James Franklin that if we play a decent team in the first round that we can win. Our talent, yes, and that's a testament to him and what he did. But the performance on the field doesn't match it. So
yeah, beating them straight up, probably not. With an interception, forced fumble, stuff like that, we can, with our defense, we can beat anybody.
I mean, do we all agree on this show that under James Franklin, we're probably never going to win a meaningful game?
We haven't won many meaningful games, but I can't say. No. But he also hasn't had the coaching staff like he does now. So I mean, the epic failure of a game against Ohio State this year, that was play calling and stuff like that. But I mean, we're beating a dead horse at this point.
I know you're not making an excuse, Brett, but I think that's just like an excuse for him. Like, oh, he does like this coaching staff, and it is good, but he hasn't had a coaching staff like this. I mean, I'm not saying this to you, Brett, but that's total BS. You know, like it's not an excuse for him. You know what I mean?
No. Well, you need a good coaching staff. I mean, if you're a good head coach and you don't have a good coaching staff overall, then it's going to be really hard to do anything. I mean, Indiana has good coordinators. It's obvious. He went out and got good coordinators. Like that's why their things are running and they're going smoothly. So, but
like I said, man, on this show we're fans and we're knowledgeable and we're going to speak bluntly. We're not. You know what fans say about James Franklin on game days? What I just said. That's what fans say. So, Brett, I mean, do you agree, disagree?
I mean, I'm in the middle. I agree with some of it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we'll have to see.
I'll jump the fence. I'll jump over the fence. Yeah. I'm going to agree with Mark on this. Like, as much as I don't want to try to be like, I'll be biased, I'll be Switzerland on this. No, I'm going to pick a side. I think that he's not wrong. Like, we're talking about one victory that just happened to have Micah Parsons block the kick, Grant Haley run it all the way back to get that touchdown. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have a single win against Ohio State in his entire career as a coach at Penn State. That's not good. Like, that's the big game. You need to show something. There's always a level that you're trying to get to. And I feel like if it's not the play calling and it's just like the execution of whatever they tried to put in the play calling, like there's just always something that goes wrong that you just can't ever allow that to happen. Like, again, we're talking like, again, Oregon, Texas, all these teams that have the great coaching, everything's in place to be successful. And we had everything going for us in this year. Like, that was the most deflating I think I've been for Ohio State and Penn State for a long time because everything was in their corner. They were at home. They had all the advantage. I mean,
I'm never going to sugarcoat anything on this show. Never. People have said that in comments before. Like, well, you know, I think it was something about Franklin. I said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. What do you want me to say? I'm speaking honestly.
I mean, I want the guy to be successful. I want them to have great seasons because he's a great recruiter. He really has brought some of the better talent that Penn State has seen in the last 10, 15, whatever years. And it's been like, yeah, you got great players. You got good coordinators finally. Like, you brought in these guys to do offense, defense. Like, yeah, it's now, again, can it happen in the big moments? So far, again, the USC win is no longer looking good because now they're 4-5 or 4-6, whatever their record is. And it's, I don't know. I feel like we're hanging on for like dear life when it comes to our play calling, like, and our name, our defense, like all the things that you associate with Penn State. Nick Singleton and Allen always look great. Warren has become the biggest surprise in football for Penn State. But yeah, it's, again, always comes back to Franklin. And it's the big game that you want to win. Now, again, could we ever get to a big game? And because again, we're now have the opportunity. We're now part of a 12-team playoff. So could anything happen? Absolutely. Could it go in our favor? Could the worst seed somehow upset the other team and maybe we beat the other team? Yeah, that could easily happen because, again, anyone can be beaten. But if it was what you said, if it had to be the big matchup with the big dogs, if we played Texas, I think we would probably be somewhere, 38-20, 38-24. It wouldn't be an embarrassment, but we would not win. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
Texas beat Arkansas 20-10 today, so they're not great either. I don't know.
And then James Franklin always says, "I coached in the NFL and in every major conference," and it's like, okay, James, well, what did that do? What good did that do for you? You never beat Ohio State. You never beat Michigan. You haven't won a meaningful game in your whole time here. You haven't beaten a heavily favored powerhouse team once at Penn State. Just straight up. I can't name one game that he's done that. So he on game day, he's not good. His teams aren't prepared. I mean, Katron Allen today, when he scored his touchdown, he kicked the door open and he said a swear word. Dude, if Joe Paterno was the coach, I don't know what would have happened, but he said it on live TV to a national audience. He said a swear word after he kicked the door in, and it's like, the camera's on you. You represent Penn State, and you're saying what he said. I don't know if you guys heard what he said, but I just think that's a bad look. I don't think you should be doing that type of stuff. But Franklin apparently
it's not Georgia, so it's not really that bad of a look, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
It's not Georgia, so it's not. That's
at least he didn't call the cameraman an idiot. So
I didn't hear it, so I don't know. But yeah, I got to get off of here, guys. We've been on for a long time, so.
Brett, you work tomorrow?
Yeah, I work every Sunday. Yep.
Oh. Yeah, you do what? Sunday through Wednesday?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
10-hour days, man. They're fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, it's good. I got to eat, too. I'm starving right now. So.
Chicken and rice. That's what I got tonight. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. Brett and I will talk, strategize about talking basketball. Jared and I are going to, we'll do... Jared, I guess we'll do pregame tomorrow because that's
yes, sir.
I'll just say this.
Game of the year, buddy. Game of the year.
Knock on wood, and this is when the schedule really gets tough. But knock on wood, we win tomorrow. We're Super Bowl contenders, and I think we're going to do well the rest of the year. So
yes, sir.
If we win tomorrow, we're going to make a playoff push. I mean,
dude, the Lions, the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Bills will be the only teams ahead of us. If anything, we'll be the lowest thing is 5, the 5th best team in the NFL. If we win tomorrow, that knocks off Lamar Jackson and company. I know a lot of people would say that's what they want, and it's going to be so good. Again, we'll get into it, but I'm saying I'm so pumped for it, dude.
And then we play Cleveland Thursday.
Yep.
So right there, man, you get back-to-back wins. Holy crap, look out. And I said at the beginning of the year, I think they can beat the Chiefs. And it wouldn't be a Steelers team if they didn't lose to the Colts or the Cowboys by a field goal. It wouldn't be a Steelers season if they didn't do that. So
that's the beautiful thing about the NFL, though, dude. I mean, you don't have to go 17-0 to get to the Super Bowl. You don't. I mean, anyone who does normally doesn't win. So again, we talk about tonight. You have one bad loss in the season, and that kind of handicaps you. And it's just now you're constantly having to just hope that something else happens. So
yeah. But Jared, we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll stay in touch with you, Brett. We could talk basketball for another half hour if you want. I'm just kidding. All right. Brett, we could probably do that. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But yeah, we'll start talking Penn State basketball. So, all right, guys. Have a good night. Got the dub. We'll be covering Minnesota later this week. So,
yep. Have a good one, guys.
Have a great night, guys.
See you,
Yep, you
Jared.
too.
See you, Brett. Have a
See
good
ya.
night.
Yeah, you too.